How's it going, YouTube? Welcome to part 10 to Intro to GUI in Java series. Today we're going to be talking about JSliders. Alright, let's get straight to the code. Sliders and programs can be used for volume control, thermostats, or even rating systems. First and foremost, we need to import our JSlider. So import javax.swing.jslider. Next, we need to add our JSlider as a data field to our JFrame. So JSlider, slider. In our JFrame constructor, we're going to initialize slider to equal new JSlider. Next, we're going to set the bounds of our JSlider. So slider.setBounds. And it's going to be 200 for our X, 100 for our Y, 200 pixels wide, and 50 pixels long. Next, we need to add our JSlider to our panel. So panel.add slider, and let's run our program to look at our JSlider. So we have a label for our volume, and then we have our JSlider. So notice our JSlider has its own background. In order for us to change it, we just need to have it match the background of our panel. In our constructor, we're going to say slider.setBackground, and for our color today, we're going to use orange, which for some reason gives a yellow color in Java. So let's run again. And there we go. Our slider is blended in with our panel. The default starting value for sliders is always going to be in the middle, or 50%. Next, we're going to set up a minimum and maximum value for our JSlider. So for our max, we're going to say slider.setMaximum to 200. Then for our minimum, we're going to say slider.setMinimum to 0. If you don't feel like calling on the set maximum minimum methods, earlier when we initialized our slider, we could have just said 0, 200, and then 50 would be our starting point. So when we run our program again, our marker is still at 50, but now our maximum is 200. Next, we're going to set tick marks to our slider. So for our minimum tick marks, we're going to go by tens. So slider.set minor tick spacing, and we're going to set that to 10. So when our scale is from 0 to 200, when we get to 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 to the hundreds by tens, it'll be small tick marks. Then for our maximum tick marks, we're going to say slider.set major tick spacing, and we're going to go by 50. So when we run our program, it doesn't show our tick marks. So I know what you're thinking. Hey Trey, how do you show the tick marks on your slider? In order for you to see your tick marks, you need to do slider.set paint ticks to true. And we run our program again. And now we have our big marks, if you can see them. I'll circle them with the mouse, or I'll add circles during editing. And we have our 0, 50, 100, 150, 200 big mark or major ticks. And then we have our 10, 20, 30, 40, 60, 70, 80, our 100 all the way up to our 200 minor ticks. Next thing to do is show the numbers on our sliders when we get to our tick marks. In order to do that, we need to do slider.set paint labels to true. So when we run our program again, now we have our 0, 50, 100, 150, and 200 major tick marks, and then our minimum tick marks, but you can't see those. For the last part of today's example, we're going to have our label change based on what value we set our slider on. First, we need to have our class implement change listener. We need to make sure to import our change listener and our change event. So similar to our action listener, we have an abstract method that is given when we implement the action listener or change listener class. In our state change method, we're going to set our variable that we created earlier, which was an integer called volume, to slider.getValue. Next, we're going to say label.setText to volume colon space plus our volume. And back in our constructor, we're going to say slider dot add change listener, and we're going to say this, which refers to the class that implements our change listener class. So we run our program again, and when we slide our slider, it's going to be volume. You can do volume 101, 150, 156, and our label will change based off on our slider. So those are the basics of JSliders in Java. If you have any questions, comment below. Don't forget to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. All right, thank you for watching.